What's cooking, Juventus fans? Welcome back to your old lady's favorite YouTube channel. Do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see it? Do you see it? When we started this channel, your boy did not have so many gray hairs in his beard. This is what Juve does to me. Stick with us, we'll fill you in. Ciao ragazzi, welcome back to the Beyond Neres Zone. My name is Justin Sofro. Today, it's Thursday, June 16th, 2022. And of course, I got your latest rundown of all things Juventus, all the news you care about each and every day. Make sure you hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, hit that bell icon to stay notified for all of our latest videos. But let's just jump into it and get to the news that we have for you today. I think overall, I'm not going to say this is a positive day, but there are some positive things that we can really take away from the Mercado moves being made during today's reports. So first up, maybe not as positive as you were hoping it was going to be, is it's Alejandro's favorite guy. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. Mattia De Sciglio has renewed and is locked in at Juventus until 2025. Juventus have reported and announced that De Sciglio will remain with the club, which we've all known this for now, but still, the moment that it comes out and the moment that it hits, just pain. Just pure, unadulterated pain. All right, let's continue on, though. Let's talk about some other moves Juventus could make in the Mercado that aren't including signing players that they already have or continue renewing them. We're talking about Fabiano Della Valle, who's talking about Kostic, the moves that could be potentially made for the player. Juventus have an agreement in principle with Kostic for a 3-year deal at 2.5 million euros per season. Juventus will come forward to Eintracht with a 15 million euro proposal as soon as they have settled the issues regarding Di Maria and Morata. So as it stands right now, obviously it makes a lot of sense. Morata, I don't know how soon that one can get figured out. We're going to talk about him a little bit later in the show. But with the situation with Di Maria is one that is a bit interesting to really follow. We know there's one thing about him, too, is that Kostic is 30 years old. So he's not a young player. Well, he's 29. He'll be 30 in November. So he'll be a 30-year-old player when he's playing for the majority of the season for Juventus. He'll be in his 30s. So that's something to keep in mind. I think, my personal opinion, and this is my personal breakdown of it, obviously take it with a grain of salt, is I feel like Kostic is a player that Juventus can kind of drag their heels on a little bit. Obviously, we've complained plenty about dragging your heels on players, but I think when it comes to certain ones, like Di Maria, it hasn't really been as much Juventus. It's been the Di Maria side that have dragged their heels, and we're trying to get them, let's hurry that up, let's speed it up. Well, in this situation, Kostic is a backup. He's a plan B to this. I don't believe, there's some reports that have said that he's there alongside Di Maria. You could get both. If you could get both of them, you'd have already gone after him, right? I would imagine. Maybe, maybe not. Unless there are other options that are more viable that are before him. I know you guys don't like to hear it. Zaniolo. Maybe that's an option that comes first before him. I think Kostic is an option that Juventus are going to drag their heels on. Maybe looking into the back end in the Mercado before anything comes on. Watch it. I'll be eating my words, watching by the end of the week, and he'll end up being a Juventus player. But that's just kind of the read I get from it. I think Kostic is a guy that you don't have to really hurry up with because he's also slowing things down with Eintracht Frankfurt. He's not signing any kind of renewal right now, and he's more than happy to sit and wait for Juventus, especially if he can come play for Juventus rather than returning to the club that he's staying at and renewing for a longer deal there. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how that develops here in the coming days to weeks. And you guys know by now, when it says a few days, it means weeks, right? All right, let's go into the Di Maria situation and talk about what's going on with him. Romeo Grassi basically is reporting saying that Di Maria hasn't given an answer to Juve. The player is actually on vacation and will decide his future calmly, which means he is taking his sweet time, which, as we know, I've ranted enough. No rant today. Your boy's not ranting today. It's all rainbows and sunshine over here, right? Anyway, it goes on to say, I think Juve, in order to protect themselves, are moving on to other targets, which I think is a smart decision by Juventus, especially if you're going potentially to go after two options. Like I said, a Kostic, you can go ahead and sign him, and then if Di Maria comes on later, he can jump on later. You're signing him on a free. As long as you can pay the wages, you're good to go. So I think Juventus could end up signing two players in that kind of position in a winger role or whatever have you. But still, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's the only thing I can really say about it. All right, let's continue on with the Di Maria topic, though. And we have Nico Schietta, who had an update saying that kind of contradicting what Romeo Grassi says, so we'll see which one comes to fruition. He says that by the weekend, Di Maria's answer. If it's a no, Zaniolo, who's Cherubini's old favorite, who has seen his agent 3 times since January, and Kostic, who we just talked about, Eintracht have offered him a super renewal, but he has asked for a few days to think. Again, few days, few weeks, few months, whatever have you. Could be back on the agenda. So as it stands right now, we'll see if we get that no from Di Maria or a yes by the weekend. They said in the next few days. No, he actually said by the weekend. Sorry, let me clarify that because I thought I'm just so used to hearing in the next few days. He said by the weekend. So if by this weekend we have a here we go when it comes to Di Maria, then we'll have a little bit more of a concrete notion of where the future of the club's mercado is really headed. If not, well, I guess you do as well, but it's a little bit more murky. Are they going after Zaniolo first, or are they going after Kostic? Kostic is an easy one. They basically have the deal already lined up. You just have to get him to sign on the dotted line. To get Zaniolo, it takes a little bit more. Also, it just depends to me. I understand when I'm not trying to go on a rant, but when it comes to the situation with Di Maria, you can sign Di Maria. You can get him in for, 6 months to a year. If you've been on the channel, you know why I'm saying 6 months to a year. But the problem is no matter what, you're kind of replacing him next year anyway. Next summer mercado, you're going after another guy who's going to take his spot. So why exacerbate that process? Why not go ahead and get a guy now who could do the same things? Maybe not. Okay, not the same things. Not the same quality. He is, I do believe, and I fall into the category that I think Di Maria is a world-class player. We saw what he did for the Argentine national team, and we saw what he's still capable of doing should he come to Juventus. My issue is that 6 months to a year. That's not a long-term commitment. That's not something you have to build off of. It's a mercenary deal, which is fine. When I use the term mercenary, I don't mean that as a negative connotation, but it is what it is. He's a mercenary. So I just wonder what's worth it in the long run. If you get back to winning the Scudetto and you have that situation sorted out and you're competing at the highest level, fantastic. That's perfect. But if not, then it just kind of seems like a wasted opportunity to get somebody else in there to really start building for the future. Anyway, we'll leave it at that for now. We'll see what happens. We'll come back to Di Maria. We talk about him basically every day here on the channel at this point. All right, let's continue on. Talk about a player. Oh, not so good news. Or is it good news? We'll see. Berardi comes up as the next topic of the day, and actually it's kind of good news depending on where you sit with us. Nico Scheda reports saying that Berardi has been proposed to Cherubini for a month. There was also a meeting between the intermediary close to Berardi and Cherubini in May, but he is not Juventus' first choice at the moment. He can be a plan B if the first choices fall through. So that's slightly good. Yes, it's still frustrating that he is a possibility. I don't think highly of Berardi, though there are plenty of Juventus fans out there who do think highly of Berardi, or would be okay getting him. Let's say that. When it comes to Berardi, though, I think it's good that he is not a top option. I think right now his time has passed when it comes to his time that really I feel like will suit himself becoming a Juventus player. What would have been years ago, not the situation we have currently. We'll see if it ends up anything. If it all falls apart, then you could end up with him once again. But I think it's at least good that it appears that Juventus are moving in a direction that's not so Berardi focused. All right, continuing on the good news train, let's talk about this one. We have Bruno Andrade, reporting basically about David Neres, saying that he is expected to have his medical test today in Brazil and then to sign for Benfica. Woo! There we go. I should have timed it better. Woo! Together. There we go. Not just saying woo and then doing that. Throw me a bone. It happens. I think, to me, I'm just breathing a sigh of relief. I just don't think that's a player that really would have suited Juventus long term. I don't really understand the linkage to him, and I don't know where that really came from, but it's kind of good news seeing how somebody I can't remember exactly who it is, so that's why I say somebody. It was floated out there that talks have progressed and heated up with Juventus and him, and then here we are a day later with this news. So, good to hear. No need for Neres. Let's continue on with better options that Juventus definitely do have. All right, let's go on now. We can get back to that Morata topic and see what's going on with him, the player. We have Romeo Gresti, who's reporting saying that the negotiation between Juventus and Atletico Madrid for Morata remains very complicated. As of today, compared to the last contacts, no progress has been made. So, I mean, we're at square one. We're at square one. The thing is, here's the issue. If Juventus end up losing out on Morata and end up losing him, they have to go replace him as well. What player are you going to bring in that situation? Obviously, it would be more feasible. It would be easier for Juventus to find some kind of amicable solution. Couldn't get that one out for the player, and you end up bringing him back to Juventus, so that way you can really just focus on bringing like one other guy or two guys instead of having to look at like potentially three guys you're replacing, depending on how this Mercato unfolds. Let's continue on though. And get back to the other part where we have Tutto Sports reporting saying that the goal and attack for Juve is to bring back Morata, for whom they are studying a new solution after the non-redemption. The most likely hypothesis is a new loan, but only after Alvaro renews his deal with Atletico. We've talked about it in the past how it could be a 10-day or 10 million now and 10 million later. Juventus don't want to really tie themselves to Morata, but at the same time, we also had this recent report here within, like, I think a few minutes ago. Fabrizio Romano said Alvaro Morata returns to Atletico Madrid. No agreement with Juventus as things stands. Morata wants to feel important, and now he's coming back to Atleti. Buy option won't be triggered. The decision has been made. On that deal. On the situation that was originally agreed upon with Juventus and Atletico Madrid regarding Morata. Now, it looks like there's not a lot of suitors there for him, so Juventus would be able to come in there and work out some kind of deal. We'll see if they're willing to come back to the table and do something a little bit more amicable. But I did notice, and I like the part where Morata says he wants to feel important and is now coming back to Atleti. What he means by that, I think is just really, Morata doesn't want to have his future be undetermined a year from now. He wants to know that wherever he's going to be playing next season, he's going to remain there. He's going to have at least a couple years planted and not going to be moving. So he wants to know that he has a future in Turin for a couple years at least, depending on how these deals get worked out. You know, if it's a 2 to 3 year kind of deal or whatever it is. He doesn't want to have the one with the option to buy or one with the whatever it is. He wants to have some kind of commitment where Juventus are saying, okay, you're staying here, we're going to invest in you, or at least we're going to know that you're not going to have to pick up your family and move them somewhere else. So which I understand. At his age, he's getting closer to 30. I think was he 28, 29, something like that. Maybe I'm wrong there. But I know he's getting closer to 30, and I think he's got a couple kids. He wants to be in a situation where he feels situated. And I think if he were here, I think he's a solid player. I think he's a solid option for Juventus. Obviously, he has some aspects to his game that can be a little bit more fine-tuned. He can be a little bit more accurate. He can do a little bit better in the attack. But overall, he's a better option than a lot of the players that Juventus have had to work with recently in the attack. And I think it'd be you'd be doing yourself a favor by continuing to use him alongside Vlahovic and maybe getting another Vice or something like that along with it. Otherwise, you're doing a lot more work in the Mercado than you really need to. Let's continue on, though, and talk about other Mercado moves Juventus are trying to make with Molina, who seems to be, and here's the thing, I want to clarify, when it comes to Morata, his situation not getting decided or whatever, I don't count him as a Mercado purchase, right? That's how I view it. I don't count it as a Mercado purchase. I count that as a deal from last year, the year before, and getting done. That's outside of it. But I understand the finances are not outside of it. But I'm not counting him as a signing of this year. That makes sense? All right. If that happens. Continue on, though. Let's talk about that option that we're looking at. That could be the third option. Should, obviously Pogba get done, and then your Di Maria situation gets figured out, would be maybe to focus in on Molina from Udinese. Corriere dello Sport reporting saying that Juventus, like Molina, who is trying to work with Udinese for a transfer to Turin. Udinese are asking for 25 to 30 million euros. At the moment, though, that is considered too high for the club to pay. So there's the latest update there. Don't really have a lot to comment on there. Juventus want to pay less than that, obviously. We'll see what happens there, but let's just keep an eye on that. Okay, next one up is Demiral. We got to talk about him again. Di Marzio now is reporting saying that Atalanta are now thinking about keeping Demiral, which to me only means, when they say keeping Demiral, unless something really changed where they think they can just continue to utilize him as a center back, I think that just means somebody came to the table and somebody's willing to purchase him, either in the Premier League, maybe Napoli, somebody like that, came and were saying they're willing to buy him from Atalanta. That's what that means to me. So keep an eye on that. See if he gets purchased and then moves on again shortly after that. And then the last news story of the day. This one's going to be an interesting one. I want to hear your all's opinions on what you really think about this. Gazzetta dello Sport reporting saying that Juventus are convinced that they do not need a new central defender. They don't need a center back. The club will have a starting pair in Bonucci and De Ligt, with Gatti and Rugani as substitutes. Danilo has convinced Allegri that he can also play the center. First off, just that last part, we don't need to do that. My personal opinion is if you're utilizing Danilo as a center back, then you need a new center back. That's what I think. That's my personal opinion. If you're utilizing Danilo out of position as a center back, if you're utilizing Danilo as a midfielder, you need a midfielder and you need a center back. That's what I personally think. I understand it's great having guys that are jacks of all trade, but why not utilize him in the spot that best suits him? Why I don't get that. I mean, yeah, he performs fine in both spots whenever he's needed, but I don't know. I think in that situation, I'd rather have a guy who his main focal point is that position for both of them. But to go off of that, Rugani, I could yell and moan and whatever about Rugani. Yeah, it's fine. Let's move on from that topic. We know how I feel about Rugani. Gatti, though, is intriguing. I am interested to see if Federico Gatti is going to stay with the club, and he's going to stay, and he's actually going to perform, and he is actually viewed as a very solid option for the team. He's thought of highly enough that he played for the Italian national team here. And I think it was against England where they had a much better performance than the onslaught that they received when he didn't play. Not saying that it's because of him, but that's when Bastoni played against Germany. So something to keep an eye on. I am very intrigued, though, to watch Federico Gatti and see what he really does and what he brings to the club. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Make sure you check that out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think we really need to get another defender, or do you think we're okay with Gatti and Rugani backing up Bonucci and De Ligt? My personal opinion is you still need a guy. I'm still on that side of the fence. I still think, again, if you have a guy who can play multiple options, you have a guy who doesn't play any of those options. Does that make sense? That may have been kind of stupid, but does that make sense? What I'm really trying to say is, in American football, we have a term saying if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks, which means if you don't have one guy who is the guy who you're going to have in that position, then you have nobody. And right now we have De Ligt, and then we have a bunch of dudes. Bonucci now has fallen down to the stature of a bunch of dudes. It'd be much better and would suit Juventus much better to have a guy like Koulibaly, to even have a Badiashile, to even have some guys like that in that situation. That's my personal opinion, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. That'll do it, though, for the news today. Let me know your thoughts. We'll see how these gears continue to turn, how things develop in the near future. Will we have a here we go by the weekend when it comes to Di Maria, or will we be refocusing our efforts for another player? A Zaniolo? A Kostic? How is that going to end up panning out? Let's see, and let's definitely stay tuned to that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon to stay notified for all of our latest videos. Make sure you follow me at Justin Sofro on Twitter, and follow Bianconeri Zone at Bianconeri Zone, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'll see you guys next time. Forza Juve, Forza Bianconeri.